Hello and welcome back to the simulated 2024 F1 World Championship. This is round number 18 of 24 from Marina Bay in Singapore. Our final race before another month break, we head to Southeast Asia for the region's only F1 representation, which is sad because I really miss Sepang and I really want to see it return. Does anyone else also remember the Vietnam Grand Prix that was supposed to happen in 2020? That was certainly something. Here's how the driver's standings shape up after last time out at Baku. Verstappen continues to stretch out the gap to Norris up top, the two now separated by 34 points. Tsunoda and Leclerc swap positions once again with Hamilton remaining P5. Alonso moves ahead of his compatriot Sainz for P6, and Gasly, Albon and Piastri remain in 8th, 9th and 10th respectively. The constructors' standing sees Red Bull increase their lead over Ferrari to 17 points, with McLaren a further 16 points back, ready to pounce. RB and Mercedes remain fairly close in their battle for P4, and Aston Martin remain comfortable in 6th. Sauber continue to completely outclass their real-life counterparts in P7, and Williams have leapfrogged Alpine to take P8 in the standings. Haas are still in 10th, but one good result could see them join the fight. Compared to the actual standings, Verstappen remains on top, although Norris continues to very slowly decrease the gap, which is now at 59 points. Leclerc is only 19 points behind the Brit in 3rd, and Piastri is closing in on the pair of them in 4th after taking victory in Azerbaijan. Sainz falls back in P5 after failing to finish, with the two Mercs of Hamilton and Russell occupying P6 and P7 respectively. Perez slips to 8th after his collision with Sainz forced to retirement, and the two Astons of Alonso and Stroll are still routed to P9 and P10. As for the constructors, we see a change for the lead, with McLaren now occupying the top spot, leading Red Bull by 20 points. Ferrari are 31 points behind Red Bull in 3rd, and Mercedes are slipping back from the title battle in 4th. Aston Martin are a long way off in 5th, and the battle for 6th between RB and Haas is heating up, with Haas slowly closing in. Like the simulated season, Williams leapfrog Alpine into 8th after a double points finish, and Sauber remain last with nothing to show. Now it's time to find out who will be racing as for the Singapore GP. With us driving as the former Williams driver Logan Sargent last time out at Baku, we are now down to the final 3 drivers left to be selected this season. With everyone on the wheel having a 1 in 3 chance to be selected, let's find out who will be racing as around Marina Bay. And we have been given Nico Hülkenberg in the Haas, leaving Russell and Alonso as the final 2 drivers waiting to be selected. Can we manage to bring Haas into the Constructors' Championship fight and get Hülkenberg off the bottom of the drivers' standings? It's time for the Singapore Grand Prix.
It is one of our great cinematic settings of the season. Welcome to Singapore. We're under the floodlights with the walls close and pole position up for grabs.
So here we are then in a very wet Singapore as Nico Hülkenberg in the Haas. So we're off to a very wet start in qualifying. So this is going to be pretty tricky. As you can see me going for the last corner, me struggling to keep the car straight. As I set that time 143.004, which is still good enough for P1 right now. But as the session goes on, the track does indeed dry up, so we are able to do another run on the dry tyres, the soft tyres here, as we go across the line to finish off Q1, and we end up in P1 in Q1. Very good stuff there, so it's a good idea for us to get out on the softs. And we lost from Q1, Zhou Guanyu, Yuki Tsunoda, our teammate Kevin Magnussen is in 18th, Daniel Ricciardo in 19th, and then Lewis Hamilton actually starting in 20th place after not doing another run on the softs. Bit of a blunder there from Mercedes. Not very good there for Lewis. He's starting all the way at the back of this race on a track which is not very easy to overtake as we move on to Q2 now, finishing off our Q2 lap. And once again we are in P1, so we got some decent qualifying pace at least. Easily make it through into Q3, and we've lost on Q2 Valtteri Bottas, Esteban Ocon, Sergio Perez, Lance Stroll in 14th. And in 15th, we've got Logan Sargent in the Williams. Again, Sargent not racing in the IRL Championship anymore, but we can't change the drivers. I don't believe there's a mod available for the game yet. It's actually harder to mod F124 thanks to the anti-cheat. I mean, the anti-cheat is great, but detriment of single-player mods is kind of eh. But I guess That's what we need for clean racing online. Well, there's never clean racing online, let's be honest. As we move on to Q3 now, setting our final Q3 lap. Hopefully we can carry on the trend of being in P1 in every qualifying session so far and end up on pole. As we can see Albon there in 9th, Albon making it through to Q3 again, and Gasly as well in Q3 as well. Very good there for Alpine. Both Williams and Alpine fighting for P8 in the championship currently. In fact, both of them are not too far from P7 either, where Sauber is. So it's a very good fight for P7, P8 and P9. And hopefully with a good result for Haas today, they may end up joining that fight as well. So we could have a four-way fight for P7, which is just like the top, where we kind of got a 4, even maybe 5-way fight for the Constructors' Championship currently. As we move through the Singapore circuit, through the streets of Singapore and Marina Bay. We come to the end of Sector 2, which we also set a purple for. We set a purple in Sector 1 and Sector 2. And we've got to remember that the layout for the Singapore Grand Prix was changed last year. Still using the new layout for a few years yet. At least they may change it back to the old one once the, I believe there's like construction work happening in like the harbour bit is completed. Maybe they'll keep this new layout, who knows. As we move to the final couple of corners, head towards the line. And are we P1?
Fantastic, you've got pole position.
We are indeed P1 for the Haas of Nico Hülkenberg. Setting a 127 in the end, the only driver to set 127. So Hülkenberg is on pole, Verstappen in P2, Fernando Alonso in P3. Then we got Charles Leclerc in P4. Then it's the two McLarens on the third row of Piastri and Norris, 5th and 6th respectively. Pierre Gasly in P7. Carlos Sainz in 8th, George Russell, the sole remaining Mercedes, is in 9th, and Alexander Albon is 10th in the Williams. And with that, qualifying is done, the grid is set, and all we can do now is move on to the race. It's time for the Singapore Grand Prix.
Welcome then to Marina Bay and a tough, bumpy street circuit that will test these drivers to their absolute limit. So sit back and enjoy the action here at the Singapore Grand Prix. This is a wonderful racetrack to come to, but it's sometimes been a bit tricky to overtake. We have a new layout to try and change all of that. Reduced to 3 miles, it's turn 16 and turn 19, which has gone from corners to a straight. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Nico Hülkenberg lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who will start from P2. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Fernando Alonso, Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, Norris, Gasly, Sainz, Russell, Albon, Bottas, Ocon, Perez, Stroll, Sargent, Joe, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Ricciardo, and Lewis Hamilton rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Well, what a race we have in prospect. Welcome to the commentary box. I'm Alex Jakes. Joining me is Naomi Schiff. It feels like an obvious question, but I think everyone wants to know. At this stage, are you nervous or excited?
It certainly is a time leading up to the race where drivers feel quite nervous because that adrenaline is starting to build and it gets into your mind. So you've got to stay focused, try not to distract yourself too much. But I will say that it's once the formation lap starts, at least it was for me, that was a time where the nerves started to calm down and I got really honed in and focused on the start that was coming.
And here we are then, on the grid with Nico Hülkenberg on pole position at Marina Bay. Very good stuff. We've got a strategy now. It's a 2-stop either way. We can either go medium, medium, soft, or medium, medium, hard. I choose to go with the medium, medium, soft. As for the fuel, you can see down there, 62.4 laps, and the race is 62 laps. So we only have 0.4 laps worth of fuel excess, so we do have to manage the fuel as we go through this race. Most of us starting on the mediums, the only exceptions being Perez, Magnussen, Ricciardo and Hamilton, who are all starting on the softs. No one's starting on the hards, not too surprising there. Perez, Magnussen, Ricciardo, Hamilton deciding to go a little bit different to see if they can make up some places in this race. I can understand that considering the Magnussen, Ricciardo and Hamilton are the bottom 3. And Perez, well, he's in 13th, so might as well try something a little bit different considering his teammate is in P2.
that within the
So, end of formation that now. We're all coming up to the grid. We've got Verstappen alongside us in P2. Not too surprising there. He is the current championship leader after all. His closest competitor, Lando Norris, just like in real life, his closest competitor Norris is down in P6. Hopefully Norris can get some overtaking done and hopefully get ahead of Verstappen in this race. Let's find out, shall we? As the last two cars get onto the grid now. Hamilton putting up, coming up to his P20 box. As we move on to 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go. It's a good start for us. Verstappen has an equal start. And we keep everyone at bay. As Alonso tries to go around the outside of Verstappen into turn 1. Actually makes the move stick. Verstappen on the inside though going into turn 2. Or maybe that's turn 3. I don't know. They're side by side behind us going into turn 4 now. Going onto the Raffles Boulevard. Alonso's still side by side. He actually gets ahead of Verstappen now. Going down the Raffles Boulevard. So Alonso with a very great start there. But Verstappen trying to make a move back on Alonso going into the corner now. Turn 5, maybe turn 6. And Verstappen reclaims the place by going around the outside of Alonso. So very good stuff there. Norris has lost 2 places at the start actually. Gasly and Sainz have overtaken him. So Norris is now down to P8. Piastri's made a move on Leclerc going up to P4. And Hamilton now making up 2 spots from last. He's already got to 18th place ahead of Magnussen and Ricciardo. So very good stuff there. Perez, who also started us off, has actually lost a spot to Bottas, I believe. And Stroll is now up to P12 as well. Albon going down to P11 from P10. Ocon now in P10, which means both the Alpines are currently in the points. Very good stuff there for Alpine. As for us, though, we've built up a gap between us and Verstappen. It's now 1.6, 1.5 as we go down the new section of track here towards the last part of the lap. End of lap 1. Pretty comfortable for us so far. We're already out of DRS range. Hopefully we can keep that going through the race. We shall see. But so far so good for Hulkenberg in the Haas. As we move on to lap 5 now, we see Bottas closing in on Stroll. Going for the chicane, but Bottas loses it and heads into the wall, breaking his front wing. And Bottas is now all the way down in last and will need to come into the pits for a wing replacement. Not very good there for the Sauber driver. Sauber team having a very decent run of form in the simulated season compared to their IRL season. But Bottas unfortunately quite out there as he's reversing along the track surprisingly. I don't know what he's doing. He had plenty of opportunity to do a flick spin to get himself pointing the right way, but he's still reversing, trying to turn around. He's now doing like a 20-point turn to go around, do a 180. I don't know, but it's costing him a lot of time. And eventually he gets his car pointing in the right direction again. But that maneuver, for whatever reason, why he decided to do that, we'll never know. That maneuver has cost him a lot of time, and he also needs to pit in for a new front wing as well. So his race is pretty much over unless a safety car happens later on in the race. Not very good there for the Finnish driver in the Sauber. As we move on to lap 6 now, and as you can see, Verstappen has caught up to us. He's right behind us as we go through this tricky set of corners. Remember where Singapore sling out was great. As I make a mistake coming out the corner and going over the bridge, Verstappen makes the move, and we tried to barge our way back through. It's a very silly opportunity there. I probably should have waited for the DRS straight, but no damage done. But definitely should have done that. I open up the DRS and blast by Verstappen again. We're back into the lead. But it was a bit clumsy there from us, especially with trying to make the move into that left-hander there. I definitely should have waited. I had no idea what I was doing there. I just wanted to get back in the lead as quick as possible. As we go to lap 8 now, we see Perez locking up, going into the left-hander at the end of the Raffles Boulevard, and he collides with Sargent there, and I believe Perez has front wing damage as well. So to add to Bottas's front wing damage, now Perez has front wing damage, which is definitely going to compromise his pace for the stage. Whether Red Bull will bring him in for a front wing change remains to be seen. But Red Bull is coming in, and it is actually Max Verstappen on lap 12. A very early stop there for Max Verstappen. But as you can see, his front wing is also damaged as well. Very interesting stuff there. I have no idea what caused that. Maybe it was turn 1. Maybe it was with Alonso, potentially. I didn't really see it. But I tried finding it on the replay. I just couldn't. His front wing just ended up being damaged. Maybe I just missed something. Maybe he went wide into a wall, potentially. Or maybe our collision in that corner caused some front wing damage. I didn't see any parts fly off, though. But nonetheless, Verstappen coming in very early for a pit stop, replacing his front wing. He's on his way. As we see now, Alonso and a bunch of other cars coming in for their first pit stops of the day on lap 20/21. Alonso having to wait in the pit lane, which allows Leclerc to jump him in the pit lane. So Leclerc now ahead of Alonso after the first set of pit stops. And we see Gasly and Norris coming up behind them as well. This could be a very interesting fight for maybe P3, maybe even P2 now, considering Verstappen had to change for a new front wing. But nonetheless, they all come out in a single file line, and battle will be rejoined with all of them on fresh tyres. As for us, though, we decided to come in on the next lap to cover off a potential undercut from those cars there. So we come in, which gives the lead to Oscar Piastri now in the McLaren. He takes the lead of the race. Sainz also overtaking us as well. I believe all these other cars are potentially doing a one-stop. So we're definitely on different strategies here. But for us, it is going to be a two-stop. We're coming in for a new set of mediums, which means we definitely need to pit in again at some point. And we head out and along our way. As you can see, Verstappen's actually overtaken us. So his early pit stop has allowed him to jump us in a massive undercut. So technically, Verstappen, I guess, would be in the net lead, but we both do need to pit in again, and I do have about 10 laps fresher tyres than Verstappen does. So this should be very interesting. If we can catch up to Verstappen and overtake him, that will nullify the effect of his undercut, but who knows? It's going to be a very big ask for us as we move on to later on in lap 23, heading through to the bridge section now. We are right behind Logan Sargent in the Williams. I believe Logan Sargent has not pitted in yet. He's one of the cars who's trying to do a one-stop strategy here around Marina Bay. As we go into the DRS zone now, we pull along out on the outside on the racing line. And Sargent breaks a bit early, basically letting us through because his fight is not with us, really. As we move up now to P9, our next target now is Yuki Tsunoda in the RB, who we do catch up to very quickly at the beginning of lap 24. Moving through lap kilometers 2 and 3, we head to the first DRS zone, but I actually don't need the DRS zone to overtake Tsunoda. I go around the outside, Tsunoda gives us plenty of room, and we move up to P7. As just up the road on the same lap, in fact, Stroll and Verstappen battling, but Stroll locking up, making a mistake. Not surprising there, considering it's Stroll, and Verstappen very easily blasts by him into P5, which makes our job a little bit harder. We were hoping for Stroll to hold him up a little bit longer, but Stroll once again continues to disappoint. As we go through now the first sequence of corners on lap 25, we go around the outside of Stroll on turn 2/3, I think it's 2, and we get the move done on Stroll. We do give him DRS, but our tyres are a lot fresher than his, so no problems there. As we move on to lap 26, we're now right behind Zhou Guanyu, who also hasn't pitted in, and we make a move around a very unorthodox part of the track. You don't really see overtakes there, but we do make the move stick. Zhou gives us plenty of room, and we're now up to P5, and now in front of us is Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, who we do catch up to on lap 27, moving through the same sequence of corners that we overtook Zhou in the last lap, actually, and I decided not to do a dive bomb here because I learnt my lesson. And I decided to wait for the DRS zone. We do have fresher tyres than Max. We are on the fastest lap right now. We did set the fastest first sector. And we move to the inside, brake a little bit later than Verstappen, and we move forward into P4, which gives us the net lead of the race, considering the cars in front of us have yet to pit, but they are all doing one stop, so technically I guess they are leading, because we all need to do one stop, each of us in the top 5, 6, whatever, but yeah, we do have the fresher tyres, so we easily blast by Russell here on lap 28, where the Singapore Sling used to be, and we're now up to P3, we're back in the podium spots, and Sainz is now in front of us as well, and we tried to move around the outside of him, going through the corner, he blocks us off, but we do have the DRS going down the straight here, and that makes the overtake pretty trivial, and we're now up to P2 ahead of Sainz, which means we only have one car left to overtake, which is Oscar Piastri in the McLaren, who currently is in the net lead, but again, he needs to pit in. We do have the fastest purple sector 1, as we are now on lap 29, trying to go past Piastri. Piastri not making it easy for us. He's done a lot from his defensive masterclass in Baku, in real life, but we do get a lot of traction coming out of the corner. We do barge wheels, I do tap the wall as I go past Piastri for that part of the corner, circuit again, but we do have a safety car as soon as I overtake Piastri, a safety car comes out, which is not good news for us, but is amazing news for the cars who haven't pitted yet. As we see now the cause of the safety car, Norris going past Stroll down the Raffles Boulevard, but he locks up going into turn 4/5. And for some reason, he just kind of parks up here, waiting for everyone to pass. He had a lot of opportunity to get back on the track ahead of Tsunoda. But for some reason, he just decides to wait for everyone to go by, which is kind of weird. But Norris, with a mistake there, drops him all the way down the order in P19. And that causes the safety car to come out. Weird stuff there from Lando. He could have easily managed that better. Could have prevented a safety car there. But that does give the one-stoppers perfect opportunity to come in now. And also Verstappen, considering his pit stop was very early on, he can also come in for hard and bring himself back into play. But for us, it's not a good idea, because even though we could have gone on to hards, the same thing as well, our engineer actually told us to stay out for this safety car period. And we are stuck on older mediums while the people behind us are on fresher hards. The only exception to that being Ocon in P2, who also stayed out on medium tyres. So hopefully Ocon can hold up some of the cars behind us as we try to make a gap between us and the field before we have to come in for our final stop, which will put us on the soft tyres. So this is going to be... we're basically at a huge disadvantage right now, but hopefully we can salvage something from this race. We might not be able to win. We probably should have came in for hard tyres during the safety car, but I decided not to, and that probably is going to be a costly mistake, because I make a mistake actually at the end of the safety car period and nearly lose the car going through the final couple of corners. But nonetheless, the race has restarted now. Ocon is 7 tenths behind us, and we are now basically going flat out until our pit stop in about 10 laps time, I think. I don't know exactly, but our main objective is to basically bridge a gap between us and the rest of the field and hope that Ocon holds off everyone behind us, which he does do for quite a few laps, but eventually Piastri does make his way through, going around the outside at the end of the Raffles Boulevard. Piastri now up to P2, Ocon now up to down to P3. He has held him up for a little bit, but the gap is still only 4 seconds, and you can see everyone on the track is near on bunched up. So this is going to hurt as I tap the inside there of the pit lane as I go in, but no damage done, thankfully. As we come in for our second and last pit stop, we can see everyone overtaking us now. We're going to end up near on at the back of the field pretty much, which is very much a shame, as we now pull in for soft tyres. So we're going to end up pretty much in P20, which is not ideal, but we've accomplished bigger things before. Hopefully we can accomplish something good here today and hopefully get a few points for us. We are now on the much fresher tyres. Ocon and Sargent also came in for pit stops as well, which means I'm now down in P18, not P20. But all three of us now have much fresher tyres, much better tyres. Soft tyres definitely trumps the hard tyres. And now it's pretty much a case of how many overtakes can I make before the end of the race. So on lap 48, I make my first overtake on Valtteri Bottas. We've got Perez and Norris now just ahead of us. I make an overtake on Norris through that part of the track again. I made quite a few overtakes on that part of the track. The AI giving me enough room there, which is very nice. As we now got 2 drivers down, make that 3 as we blast past Perez in the DRS zone. We're now to P15. Next target is Daniel Ricciardo in the RB. As we now see Verstappen out ahead, who, oh dearie me, the championship leader is out of the Singapore Grand Prix. His car has gone up in smoke. He hasn't had the best of races, but he's managed to recover pretty well and was challenging for the win. But sadly, that is where his race ends as he pulls over at the end of the track. On lap 48, Verstappen is the first retirement of the Singapore Grand Prix. Luckily for him, Norris is still all the way down in like P16, so championship's probably not going to be affected too much, as we now dive down the inside of Ricciardo at the end of Raffles Boulevard, just making the corner. And we're now to P13. Next on the road is Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. As we move on to lap 49, we were on lap 49 already. But Hamilton braking very early, going for a left-hand corner, which allows us to slide around the outside of the corner. A very nice move there from us as we move up to P12. Next on the road is our teammate Kevin Magnussen in P11. Hopefully he'll make it easy for us, as we are in the same team, of course, but he does not make it easy for us. But thankfully we have DRS. He also has DRS, but we do have much fresher tyres. We were able to brake later going into turn 1, and we're now in P11, with Gasly now being the next target, which allows us to get back in the points. And it doesn't take us too long to get past Gasly, and we move around them on the outside of the Raffles Boulevard once again, and we move it to P10. We're back in the points. Very good stuff. But we're still not done, as we still got plenty of cars to overtake now. Tsunoda is the next on the road, leaving us just enough room there, going for that right-hander. We move up to P9. Next target is Lance Stroll. Doesn't take us too long to get past Lance Stroll. Going for the new section of track. We activate our ERS, blast by him. We're now up to P8. We do get on the curb and lose control of the car a little bit, but nonetheless, next target now is Alex Albon in the Williams. We wait till the next DRS section, makes it very easy for us to get by him, and we're now at the P7. Next target is Zhou Guanyu, who's doing a very good job for Sauber there, but he's 2.5 seconds up the road, so it takes us a little bit of time to get up to where he is. But nonetheless, we head up to where the Singapore Sling used to be, and we brake a little bit later, go around the outside. We're now at the P6, so that's 9 points currently for us, but we're not done yet, as we now catch up to Alonso on the next lap of this race. Our soft tyres really working out well for us, as we die down the inside of Alonso now, up to P5. Only 4 cars left in front of us, but Leclerc is 5 seconds up the road. Speaking of Leclerc, on lap 55, he heads down Raffles Boulevard, nearly makes contact with a wall there, and then makes contact with Russell, just managing to avoid contact, but he goes around the outside at the end of Raffles Boulevard and goes up to P3 now. So Leclerc now on the podium, which means our next target now is George Russell in the Mercedes. And in the corner, we decide to make a bit of a lunge, making a bit of contact with Russell there, kind of a bit of argy-bargy there. No damage done to either of us though. We're now to P4, and on the next lap we move to Leclerc now, going down the end of Raffles Boulevard, once again going around the outside, much better traction. We're now back on the podium, so we've overtaken 15, 16 cars in our quest, and we're not done yet, as we now catch up to the top 2 of Piastri and Sainz. Moving on to the next new part of the track once again, we get a great run coming out the corner, using our battery, we pull alongside Piastri, and our fresher tyres allows us to brake a little bit later, and we're now at the P2. We've only got 1 car left to overtake, which is Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. Can we do it on lap 60 or 62? 3 laps to go. Sainz is all that's stopping us between us and a very unlikely victory, as we move to the end of the Raffles Boulevard, going for the left corner, and I decide to make the move. I dive down the inside, going side by side with Sainz. Sainz holds around the outside of the corner. We're side by side going into the next corner. I brake just a tad bit later, and we're now back in the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix. Incredible stuff. But there's still one more sting in the tail, because all that overtaking has killed my tyres, which means Sainz is all over the back of us going into the last lap of the Grand Prix. So this race is not done and dusted yet. It's basically a three-way fight for the win between me, Sainz and Piastri, as we go through the final corner, with me on my dead soft tyres, and Sainz and Piastri with much better condition hard tyres, even though they pitted in over 30 laps ago. Those hard tyres are definitely much more durable and much more better performing than my soft tyres currently, but I am holding them off through the circuit as we head to about the halfway point of the circuit now. There's still Sainz is still only like 4 tenths behind me, so if he manages to keep behind me around this gap going into the next DRS zone, he could have a chance at the end of the DRS zone potentially. As we head over the bridge now, you can see the rear end kicking out there, which gives Sainz plenty of opportunity to catch up. He's only 4 tenths behind now, if I make that half a second, but he is catching up, going for the DRS zone. I might have to go defensive, but I don't. Sainz does not make the move, but we still have this straight now, as Piastri even looks to potentially pounce on the both of us, and we've both come together, going for potentially the last overtaking spot, but I have enough of a gap between myself and Sainz, and Sainz won't be able to overtake now. As we come through the final couple of corners, it's going to be Nico Hülkenberg who wins the Singapore Grand Prix.
Nice work, gents. Nice work.
Unbelievable stuff. We've made 17 overtakes in the last part of the race to win that race. Unbelievable stuff. And we get driver of the day as well, which is definitely deserved. Hulkenberg is your winner here in Singapore.
And Nico Hulkenberg has won it!
And they led every single lap of the race. It was a nice to flag victory, and that is total dominance.
Today was another great race and an even greater victory for Haas. Here they come now to step out onto the top of the podium. They'll be incredibly happy with today's result.
Well, I definitely didn't lead every lap of the race, so I don't know what the commentators were smoking. But nonetheless, we do win the Singapore Grand Prix after a very unlikely position there. We were down in P18 with less than 20 laps to go, which was crazy. But we managed to pull off all of those overtakes around Singapore, which is notorious for being difficult to overtake. But we managed to do it, and we managed to recover a victory from a two-stop strategy. As we're joined by Sainz and Piastri on the podium. Piastri haven't been on the podium for a while, so he'll be glad to be there. But nonetheless, it's Nico Hulkenberg who takes the victory and the fastest lap. We do get the maximum amount of points. Carlos Sainz in P2, Oscar Piastri in P3, Charles Leclerc in 4th, George Russell in 5th, Fernando Alonso in 6th, Zhou Guanyu in 7th, some more points for Sauber, very good. Albon in 8th, more points for Williams as well. Lance Stroll making it into the points for the first time in a very long time in P9. And Yuki Tsunoda rounds up the top 10. As for the rest of the classified finishes, Gasly in P11. We've got Kevin Magnussen who made his way up to P12. Hamilton making his way up to P13. Ricciardo in P14. Ocon heading down to P15. Norris in 16th. He had the perfect opportunity to capitalise on Verstappen's retirement today, but did not do so, after making a mistake in the race which caused the safety car. Bottas in P17, Sergio Perez in P18 after taking damage early on in the race. And Logan Sargent is the last of the classified finishers in 19th. And we had one retirement, which was Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. And there we go. That is the Singapore Grand Prix done. And the next race, which is going to be a very long way away, I believe, yeah, 4 weeks. 4-week break now. We got another 4-week break between the Singapore Grand Prix and the next race, which is in the US once again. It's the second of the 3 American races, but it is the United States Grand Prix around the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. And it is a sprint race as well. We're back with the sprints. We still have 3 sprints to go this year, and the US is one of them. So next time out will be a sprint. We got sprint race, full race, 2 races basically. More points to be earned and more twists in the championship battles. Definitely gonna play out there. I do like the Circuit of the Americas. It should be a fun race. And that will be on the 18th of October, I believe. Yes, it is. The 18th of October. 4 weeks from this video going out. Near on a month between these races. So yeah, you got another break from the F1 videos for another month. But once that month is done, we are back with the last quarter of the season. And we'll see who ends up taking the Drivers and the Constructors Championship. Because, especially in the terms of Constructors, both are still very much to play for. Speaking of the Constructors and the Drivers, let's look at the standings after this race. We've got Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. Neither of them scoring any points, so the gap is still 34 points between the pair of them. But Norris is now only 1 point ahead of Charles Leclerc, who has jumped Yuki Tsunoda up into P3 once again. Tsunoda falling down to P4. Hamilton remains in 5th, not scoring any points, which allows Sainz to leapfrog Alonso and is now only 8 points behind the person who's going to replace him at Ferrari next year. So, very interesting battle for 5th place between Hamilton, Sainz and Alonso here going into the final quarter of the season. Gasly remains in P8 after not scoring anything here in Singapore. Piastri moves up to P9 ahead of Albon, is now only 1 point behind Gasly. With Albon now rounding up the top 10 despite scoring points here in Singapore. As for the Constructors, Ferrari retake the lead of the constructors standings, they are 13 points ahead of Red Bull. Red Bull's not scoring anything here in Singapore, and Ferrari having a very good result. McLaren remain in P3 thanks to Piastri's podium, but they do fall behind the top two. Hopefully they can recover some points in the Circuit of the Americas. RB and Mercedes are now only separated by 4 points in the battle for P4. Aston Martin still in 6th, falling a bit behind there. Kick Sauber remain in 7th, 14 points ahead of Williams, who gained some distance between themselves, and Alpine in 9th. And then Haas do remain in last, but they are now 24 points behind Alpine, so a race win for Haas could very much bring them out of last place. And I don't remember the last time they were not in last place, but hopefully they can make a good push towards P8 or P9. And there we go, that is the Singapore Grand Prix done. A very exciting race for us. We had to do a lot of work to take the victory there. Some interesting stuff up and down the field, plenty of incidents, plenty of overtakes. Marina Bay definitely delivered this time round. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. There are 6 more F1 videos this year, starting with the US Grand Prix in a month's time. We got Mexico, we got Brazil, we got Vegas, we got Qatar, and then the season ends in Abu Dhabi as per usual. So make sure to tune in for all those and see how both the championships end up. It's going to be very interesting. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, as I said, and hopefully I'll see you all for the next one.